Next question. I led a session based on the book Extreme Ownership to my team at work. I'm not the leader, but everyone, including our manager, was very supportive and enjoyed the session. The challenge from a team member was, is there such thing as taking too much ownership? Won't you start feeling guilty about not succeeding completely? This guilt would not be a good thing. Thoughts on handling this?
Well, there's definitely a thing of you can definitely take too much ownership, but that not for that reason. I've talked about this before. If you're taking if you and I are on a team and I'm the leader and we've got a mission and I take so much ownership that I say, okay, Echo, this is how we're going to do everything. You're going to listen to me. I own this, and I don't give you any ownership. Now it's not your plan, and so now you don't execute it the best way, and you don't buy into it and all that stuff. So that is how you take too much ownership. It takes away if you take too much ownership as a leader, you take away ownership from your subordinates, and so you've taken. And again, that's overt ownership. If I take overt ownership. Now, if I give you the mission and you go out and execute it and you mess it up, and I say, okay, Echo, I didn't give you enough guidance, I didn't give you the support, I didn't give you the training, I'm going to own the mistakes, I'm going to own the failure overtly. But covertly, if I'm giving you the mission, I'm going to say, hey, you take it and run with it. So that's where you need to be careful of that. But guilt for failing is not a valid cause not to take ownership, right? Guess what? When you fail something, you're going to feel guilty, but it's a different kind. It's more of a disappointment because things didn't go your way. And I'll tell you, when you feel guilty, to me, is if I know I haven't done my best. I know I cut corners. I know I didn't invest the time. I know I, didn't give it everything I could as a leader. Yeah. That's when I feel guilty. If I give it everything and I've done everything I can and I look back, and of course, there's going to be things that you didn't predict, right? Hindsight's 20/20. We all know that. There's going to be things where you look back and you say, I wish I would have made a different decision. But you have to say, okay, so what are you going to do in the future? Be indecisive now? Are you not going to make decisions? Even at that moment when I made the decision, which was wrong, now that we can see hindsight, well, what were you going to do? You going to wait and sit around and do nothing? And now we get attacked, we get maneuvered on, we get the competitor moves or the enemy moves on us. So you might feel disappointed that you made the wrong decision. You might feel that type of guilt, but the real guilt for me is if I didn't give everything I could to the situation. So that's what causes guilt to me. Now, the failure, an actual failure, it shouldn't cause that level of guilt. It should cause you to dig deep and figure out what happened and want to reattack it. That's what it should do. It should cause you to want to figure out where you failed, where your team failed, and what you can do to ensure that never happens again. If you want to call that guilt, you can call it guilt, but that is not a reason not to take ownership. I might call it disappointment. I tell you what I'll call it. I'll call it motivation. Right. And I don't throw that word around easily, but if I fail at something, I'm going to be motivated to make sure I get it back in line and get that thing squared away. Yeah. So take ownership. Take ownership, get things done right. And if you fail, don't feel guilty. Don't get guilty, get aggressive, find the problems and get them solved. That's it. Reattack.
Yeah, man. Makes sense. Yeah, so the guilt is what kind of like, dang, it's all my fault. Like knowing, taking ownership for sure, but it's like, dang, it's all my fault. This failure, look at everyone's, I don't know, a guy lost his commission or I don't know. Right. Like, dang, that kind of guilt. Dang.
Yeah, and I say this with the businesses. They're, like you just said, you make someone lose their commission because you couldn't get the deal done fast enough. You couldn't give the guy the support that he needed. Now they lose commission. You can feel guilty about that. Is that a reason not to take ownership of it? Absolutely not. Yeah. It's a reason to take more ownership of it and be like, okay, buddy, Echo, I know you lost commission on that. Here's what I think I let you down. Here's what we need to communicate better. Here's what I need to prepare and be ready to support you next time so this doesn't happen again. Are you with me? Right? Yeah. As opposed to saying, not taking ownership and saying, Echo, that was kind of, those deals don't always work out. Maybe you should prepare better. Does that make me feel good as a leader? No. Yeah. It makes me feel like a idiot.
It's kind of like the swamps of sadness. So
the swamps of sadness.
The swamps of sadness is
Fill me in.
when you get
don't want to visit.
It's from the Never-Ending Story. When it's basically you go through these swamps and it's super hard. No, but it makes sense. It's a metaphor for life.
Okay.
These
so
swamps.
This is a movie?
It's a movie. It's a classic.
Never-Ending Story?
Yeah, the Never-Ending Story. Anyway, the swamps of sadness, they're hard to walk through them. It's hard. It's a swamp. Quicksand everywhere. Quick swamp, whatever. It's not actually sand. But so you sink. And the more you sink, the sadder you get. The sadder you get, the more you sink. So you gotta how you say, if someone's feeling guilty in this case, or if you get sad, a lot of times you get sad and you're like, I'm such a sad
It's
loser,
the downward spiral.
The downward spiral,
yes.
Exactly. So you gotta fight the sad. You gotta fight the swamps of sadness and get aggressive and work. It's not easy. Totally not easy. That's why it's a swamp.
How do they cover the fact that if you're in the swamp and you're sinking, if you panic, you'll also sink more?
Oh yeah,
because you're getting aggressive. Because getting aggressive might just be like thrashing around. Now you're running out of breath as you're sinking.
Yeah.
Do they cover that at all?
No, they don't cover that
Missed
part.
that on the metaphor, did they now?
No.
Need to rethink the swamp of sadness.
The script. No. Well, I don't think that was
because that happens for real in the water. When you're in the water and something starts going wrong, if you get panicky, your breath is going faster, your oxygen's going quicker, you're going to die.
Yeah.
You have to relax. You have to learn to relax. You got to relax.
Yeah.
And just
switch into problem solving mode.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Don't let the swamp.
But it is true that you can go in the downward spiral.
Yeah.
And we see that in people's lives, right? People's lives. They lose their job. And instead of going, cool, opportunity. And somebody just hit me up on social media the other day. It's like, lost my job. Good. I got an opportunity to go out, find another job. I'm going to step up. Like, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And as opposed to, lost my job. Oh no, what am I going to do? Yeah. And now you start going down the downward spiral because now you can't pay your rent. Next thing you know, you're losing your apartment.
Yeah.
And now you can't pay your car payment either. And now you're losing your car. Yep. So what do we do? How does that help? Doesn't help. Don't panic. Get aggressive. Figure out what you're going to do next. Take advantage of the situation.
Yep.